It's Talking Horses time on Prime Sports Network with Chad Summers, Jon Hardoon. How's it going, guys?
Good, good.
So we have, 2 weeks to go for the Derby? 2 more?
2 weeks from tomorrow, Saturday.
That's awesome. We're almost there. No more prep races. That's it. The prep races for 2023 are over. And they finished with last week's Lexington Stakes. And it was First Mission, the favorite, one of the favorites, passing, who did he pass? The 11, Arabian Lion, late for the win. What did you think about the performance from First Mission?
We gave him out on the show.
Yep, that's right. Chad, you had both winners last week, Chad.
Chad had both winners, correct.
So what did you think about his performance? Did he run another 10, John? He had 2 10s so far.
I don't know. Let me check while you talk.
I think he ran an 8. Or not 8 or 9.
Is he going into the Derby?
No, he doesn't qualify for the Derby. He is going to the Preakness, though.
Okay. Horse we should worry about? I mean, good contender?
Look, it's a horse that the Brad Cox barn is very bullish on. He's done a lot in a short period of time. He was second first time out in his debut, came back and stretched out and was a dynamic winner second time out, and now has since come back in the Lexington. That was his first stake race, his first attempt against those kind of horses. And he overcame a lot. It wasn't the best trip, but Luis Saez gave him a great ride, and
Ortiz pulled his nonsense again.
Was able to overcome the competition and was a winner. Look, he's going to be well backed in the Preakness, no matter who wins the Derby.
Really?
So,
okay.
The interesting here is normally it's been in the past where the top 20 horses, more or less, are running in the Derby. Obviously, with attrition, you have horses that'll fade away and whatever, but for the most part, it's the top 20 horses in the Derby. This year's not the case. There's 12 of the top 3-year-olds are there, 8 3-year-olds that probably don't belong, and there's plenty of new shooters coming for the Preakness. So, look, no matter who wins the Derby, I am very skeptical that anybody can win the Triple Crown, not only just because the Triple Crown's so hard to win and that this 3-year-old crop outside of Forte has beaten each other, but there's so many new shooters waiting in the Preakness that it's going to be very tough for any horse to come back in 2 weeks and take on this prospective lineup that we're going to see in the Preakness field.
Now, before we turn our attention to this week, we do have a very important announcement. A couple of very important announcements we have to get by here. We've been talking about this for months. We made the switch from Patreon to YouTube, and unfortunately, we did not get the revenue switch that we were hoping. So we are going to go back to Patreon. Now, I want to let all the Patreon members know that I have saved all of your account information. So if you do not want to re-up, all you have to do, obviously, is make sure that you cancel your subscription. If you want to re-up when the time is right, May comes around, May 1st, you'll get charged with your account, and we'll be off and running. The other...
How much is it?
What's that?
How much is it to sign up? How much does it cost?
It's the same last time. It's either $5, $10. It all depends on what they want to donate.
No, you should tell people how much it is all I'm saying.
The people who were there before know. So, but
what about
the new people
that are
yes, the new people, you can donate anything you like. $5 though, that's pretty much
that gets you in.
So.
And how many subscribers does there have to be before you're going to shave your goatee? You're growing back out.
I don't know. I'm not doing the goatee. It's just the stash.
Okay.
But I tell you what, to make it interesting, we'll fill in all the pricing for everybody next week for sure. Because next week we're planning on doing a live show, so this will give us an opportunity to interact with everybody out there. What's that?
Everybody should chime in if they think you should keep your mustache.
Oh, yeah, do that.
We'll vote.
I like it. And that's on next week's show. But we have no idea when we're doing next week's show yet. So just keep that in mind. We'll let you know.
It'll certainly be before, Thursday or before.
Yeah. And we'll let you know 24 hours in advance. So the night before, we'll let you know. We'll get you a time. And then And then just keep in mind, if something happens, if we're a few minutes late, sometimes it takes us a couple minutes to get set up. So if we say we're going to be on at 7, we might be on at 7:05, but we'll try to be on time. And let's go to viewer comments, because we have a comment from last week that we weren't able to get to. Chad, you remember the comment that I forwarded you from Rockface?
No.
All right. Rockface said, I'm a little disappointed at Chad's reasoning here. Now, I don't remember what he was talking about, but I'm sure you will when I move on.
Oh, is this about the
Yes.
the Mandarin Hero
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the one thing I'd like to say, first and foremost, if I may have the floor, is I appreciate the comments from Rockface, but look, nobody's going to prepare harder for a show in this industry than I am, whether it's a podcast, a TV show, a radio appearance, whatever the case may be. The comments I made in Mandarin Hero saying that he was coming from the basically minor league track. The JRA has 2 major circuits. They have their big leagues and they have their secondary tracks. Now, the horse who won the Dubai World Cup, who's now coming for the Breeders' Cup Classic, also started in that track. So it's not to say that horses can't come from the minor circuit. Mandarin Hero ran a great race. He was second in the San Diego Derby. Looks like he's not going to get into the Kentucky Derby and go to the Preakness. However, not only was I surprised, but most of the people that follow racing in Japan were surprised. I understand the commentary that the Japanese horses have had so much success in these international races. I understand. I've been there, okay? Most people haven't. I've been there in Saudi Arabia. I've been there in Dubai at the Breeders' Cups when they've won these races. And nobody roots harder for the Japanese horses than me, because my stallion, Mind Your Biscuits, is standing in Japan. So I have a very good relationship with the Japanese. In fact, one of his sons is running in the Kentucky Derby. Mandarin Hero came from a smaller level track. I would have had the same feelings and same commentary if a horse had come from Finger Lakes and was running in the Wood Memorial. It's the same concept. I give all the credit in the world to the trainer and the owner for coming over and taking on the competition, and it was a great ride.
The ride was unbelievable. The ride was unbelievable.
At the end of the day, I'm going to stand behind my opinion on what I thought of the horse going into the race. Now, moving forward, if he gets into the Derby or gets into the Preakness, now you're evaluating him with a race in America under his belt, and it could be a different scenario. But I don't make those comments off the cuff, all kind of willy-nilly, just because. I feel very passionately and strongly when I make a comment about any horse in any race that we preview or we discuss, and it's been well thought out and it's been researched, and so I stand behind my commentary on what I thought of Mandarin Hero going into the race. We're not always going to be right. Look, the beautiful about this game is the horses make liars of us every week. I feel like our show in particular has a lot more success than maybe other shows. I'd be willing to put our reputation on the line against anybody and go head-to-head handicapping with anybody at any time. But for me, I feel as though that's what I thought at the time of Mandarin Hero. And at the end of the day, we said that Practical Move was the most likely winner, and he won. So there you go.
By the way,
Dad, have you been to Japan?
I have. Yeah,
Oh.
they flew me out there. I've been to Shad Eye Stallion Station. I've seen the foals. I've seen broke. I've seen horses in training. In fact, Mind Your Biscuits almost ran at the Japan Cup in his last career start. We just couldn't come
By the way, Mind Your Biscuits, if you see the hat that Chad's wearing and that I'm wearing, well, 2 lucky listeners are going to get those
on our
caps.
live show.
Stay tuned for info.
Our preview show.
What's that? On the Kentucky Derby show. Yes, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And that one will be available, by the way, to everybody.
Might be the lucky winner. You never know. Could be right.
And they are collector's items, by the way. I don't want to see them on eBay after we give them away, so be careful.
And at the end of his comment, by the way, he said the removal of race day medications has leveled out the playing field. We just need to get used to that.
I mean, I hope and pray,
Conversation.
I hope and pray that one day that's the case. That's an entire different show that we have to talk about.
Right.
John Francis said you guys are some of the best in the business. So good, nice comment from John Francis. We appreciate that. Ched also does a good job, by the way.
His Mind Your Biscuits hat is in the middle.
Roshan wanted to know, you said, hey, Chad, if Desarmes, Desarmes does not make the Derby. Okay, so it's too late.
He did make the Derby.
Oh, he
made
did?
the
All right,
Derby.
so Chad, if Desarmes makes the Kentucky Derby, do you think Joel Rosario will ride him?
Not only do I think, I know it has been confirmed. Joel Rosario will be aboard Desarmes in the Kentucky Derby. After Joel Rosario won the Apple Blossom on Clairiere by a nose over Secret Oath, he can do no wrong. He's back in the good graces of Hall of Fame trainer Steve Asmussen, and he will be aboard as Steve Asmussen attempts to win his first ever Kentucky Derby. Remember, last year they did team up to run second with Epicenter. This is the one race that has eluded Steve Asmussen. The horse is 30-1 on the pretend morning line before it comes out for real. He is that
Rosario won 3 races today, so he's rounding back into form.
So we do have a pretend odds out for the Derby?
Everybody has their
Chad's pretend odds.
No, it's not my pretend odds. It's from David Aragorn, who's the morning line maker for...
And what's Forte?
What's that?
What's Forte?
I'm not... I think he was last checking 5-2 or 7-2.
5-2? That's ridiculous.
Not necessarily. That's probably what he's going to go
off.
He'll go 7-2. He'll never go up. What did Epicenter go off last?
It all depends on how much Michael Jordan bets. Remember when Michael Jordan made that million bet right before they went in the gate a few years ago in Vegas?
Did he win?
No, it was a Michael Trombetta horse that didn't win.
Oh. All right. Can we get to work, boys?
All right. Let's get to work. We have 2 races from Keeneland. Unfortunately, one is a 1.5-mile race. Figured that out late. My bad.
I believe the host of the show picked the races this week.
So my bad. And I've never won a 1.5-mile race. And I know, John, you don't like these races. Why?
It's because numbers have really very little to do with it. You have to find horses that have had success going the distance in the past. You know, or you could either go it or you can't go it. You could either do it or not. So
what about the great unknown horses that haven't tried it yet?
Okay, exactly. So they're unknown to us. They're unknown to everybody else involved as well.
I like a horse here, fellas. I like a horse at a price here. So let's get to it.
Yeah, well, they're actually, let's see. How about, I'm going to give you 3 pricey horses, Chad. Let me know if one of these is one of the horses you're talking about.
Okay.
Let's see.
How about it?
How about Tis the Bomb?
How about Bombs Away? No, thank you. Next.
No. How about House Street?
How sweet it is. Yes. House Street is my pick in this race at 10-1 morning line.
That's not going to stay, is it?
Yeah, it is. He's only had 3 lifetime starts.
Look, he's a trainer, Jorge Abreu, who's had a lot of success on the turf. Former assistant, longtime assistant
to Chad Brown,
who's won these kind of races every single time, and he'll have the favorite in here. Actually, he doesn't have the favorite, but the horse that should be the favorite in this race. Look, I think House Street has a world of talent. He ran very well in his debut, running second. Needed some time off and came back. And since he's come back, he's 2 races. I understand it's a maiden race and just an allowance race, a first level allowance race. But if you watch those races, I mean, man, he's a young horse, an improving horse, and a horse with a bright future. And the favorites in this race, for whatever it's worth to you guys, and I understand like old guys matter and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, the 2 favorites in the race are both 9-year-olds.
Yes.
Okay. The 4-year-old who's run 3 times. He's got fresh legs. I know it's a big ask, right? Not only going the further than he's ever gone, trying stakes race and stakes company for the first time ever. But 10-1, I'm very bullish on this horse. I would use this horse up and down in the top 3 spots, and I think he has as good a shot as anybody to win. I really think this horse is a very, very promising future, and as a horse I'm looking forward to maturing and growing. And I think this is a good spot to see where he's at, running against some of these old dogs here at 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I like him as well, but I like another horse with him. I like Value Engineering and House Street. Those are the 2 horses that I like, the 2 and 7.
We'll talk about Value Engineering. This is a horse that was formerly with Chad Brown. That was a $35,000 purchase in November. So they've done this for years. Clairvich Stables, who's Chad Brown's big owner, he's very much into the financial sector and the stock market and all that kind of stuff. Seth Klarman is a brilliant guy. But they do this thing where they cull every year in November. They cull some of their horses. They have to bring in their next crop, the babies, et cetera, et cetera. So they sell a bunch of horses in this November sale, horses of ages sale. And this was one of them that he had been running pretty good numbers, John. I think his numbers were fairly decent before Chad Brown put him in the sale. Mike Maker bought him and right away for $35,000. Which wasn't much at that sale at all. One of the cheapest purchases of the whole sale. Put him in a 1.5 mile stake race right away. Came off the turf. He won on the poly track and has done nothing wrong since. Was second in a grade 3 and then second in a grade 2 and won a grade 3 last time.
Right.
I mean,
So what he has going for him, Chad, is we know he could handle the distance. That's why I liked him along with you 7.
Sure.
Those were the 2 horses. Off the sheets, they're faster anyway. The 2 has 8s and Chad's horse has 10s. You know, obviously there are other horses that fit, but I ended up on those 2 horses, and Chad ended up
the
on
10s on House Street, though, and John, you can talk better about this than me, but he's so lightly raced. For him to continue to improve would not be out of the realm of possibility here because he's only made 3 starts, and with that 10 being a high, he can certainly go lower. You would think the bar is still out there for him to continue.
Absolutely. He's the fresh horse in the race. Everything you said was 100% right on. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, the sheet line for House Street, 16, 12, and 10. So you can't get much better than that for your first 3 races. And like you said, so
that horse is by the Gunthers of Glenwood Farm. They bred Justify. They've bred so many good horses. They do a remarkable job. They raise their own. They keep their own. Sell some like they did sell Justify, but they do a great job with their horses. So I'd love to see their silks in the winner's circle. They put a lot of money into this game. It's a father-daughter operation, and they do a tremendous job. So certainly rooting for them to make that walk across the infield to accept the Julep Cup when the horse wins, hopefully on Saturday. And the other horse I want to mention in the race is the Chad Brown horse. You just can't ever. I know Mike Maker has somehow become the king of these marathon turf graded stakes races, but Chad Brown knows what he's doing. He's done it for a long time, and Irad, of course, is going to stay with Chad Brown, even though he's been riding House Street. Chad Brown is his bread and butter operation. It's who he uses the most with. And I thought the 5-1 money line on that horse was a little bit high, John.
Yeah, but he's like a lot of other horses, Chad. He's like Channel Maker. He's like Red Knight. He's even like Rising Empire. After you have discussed, well, the next group is pretty close.
I thought you'd get better than 5-1, actually.
Really?
Well, I mean, the horse hasn't won since, last February. You do expect, my note is I wrote, is this horse overdue? Because you look at it and you have all sorts, 11s and 12s.
Who are you talking about?
Highest honors.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
11s and 12s over the last, 7-8 races. So that's very consistent. All 3rd and 4ths. So it's like, is this horse overdue for one really good effort?
Well, he's 7 years old, so who knows if you're ever going to get that effort again. Even a horse like Shorty, the other Georgia Breyer horse, that horse is 30-1 morning line. He could get a piece somewhere on the bottom. I don't think he could beat these other horses. But, 1.5 miles fits this horse. He ran 4th, beaten 2 lengths, 2 starts back.
I know it's a 1.5 mile race. But some of these finishes we've seen at Keeneland, they've been across the wire. Even the race we did last week that the Wesley Ward horse was the winner on. The difference between 2nd place and 7th place was about 3 necks and 4 noses.
Yeah.
They're all right there. So, if you have an opinion and you like a long shot, you want to pair with one of these horses, certainly don't blame anybody for taking a shot because these races have been so close to the wire. And, some of these horses, if they lost a step or not, it's going to be the line of demarcation here.
Channel Maker, boy, I guess no more winning for Channel Maker. You think Channel Maker has one more win in her?
Look, I thought for the last
50 lifetime starts. 50.
For the last 3 years, I thought he had nothing left, and then he came and he wins. He came off the layoff last year. He won the Elkhorn again. Look, Bill Mott and the ownership connection there with Gary Barber and Wachtel and Browse, they wouldn't bring this horse back. They were going to retire him last year, and Bill Mott who I have as much respect for as any trainer in the game, who's the Hall of Famer, has been doing this for a long time. He goes, he doesn't act like a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old at the time. He has fresh legs. He's happy and he loves what he does. And they gave him a race already, this year, instead of coming in fresh last year like he did from the Breeders' Cup. He won this race last year. It's tough for me to take him at 9-2. It's been a while since he's crossed the wire first, but he certainly knows how to win. He loves what he does. And who am I to go against Bill Mott? If he's going to win another race, this is the kind of race he wins. But it's just for me, I just went with the approach of the younger, fresher legs.
What's up with John Velasquez, man?
Why? What's wrong with him?
He's 0-4.
He hasn't won a race at Keeneland yet.
Oh, okay.
He came from California. He's had his share. I mean, look, he's too
still
good.
He's still on West Coast time. He'll wake up. Don't worry about him.
Rising Empire changes to turf the last 3 races, goes 13, 10, 11, which is a lot better than what he had the previous several races on dirt. This is a Brendan Walsh trained horse. What about Rising Empire? What do you like or dislike about this horse? Because so far so good after 3 races on turf.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, what am I going to say? He's another horse
Chad?
in the race.
I'm not sold on his. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Look, it's tough. That what do you make of any race that came out of Fairgrounds? I mean, that turf course was abysmal the entire year. I just feel like the ceiling's higher on House Street. That's the only. Everybody else, I feel like John kind of like. Wouldn't surprise me if anybody else here ran second or third. I'm just going to take a stab here. I think House Street can surprise, and he's a big price on the morning line for top connection, especially a jockey like Flavian Pratt, who rides that Keeneland turf course as well as anybody.
And you guys are not impressed with the favorite, Red Knight, at 5-2?
He's no better. You're looking at numbers, Greg. You see what we see.
I'm letting you guys answer it.
2 is faster. The 3 is faster. The 1 is faster. Sometimes the 7 is faster. So why would I bet a 5-2 shot in that
Also
spot?
9 years old.
At 9 years old. At
Yes.
9 years old.
However, it is the Mike Maker factor, and he did win his last start. And he's been pretty consistent since Mike Maker took over.
And he does have 5 wins at the distance. I don't think many horses in this race could say that.
This is the kind of race where, if our opinion's right, you're going to get paid. But if you're playing like multi-race wagers, I can't say, Red Knight's a bad favorite. You got to play. I can see Red Knight winning the race, so I would use most of these horses. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be my my light race. I would definitely spread in this race if I was using in a multi-race. But I'm going to take a shot for the win purposes on House Street.
And lastly, any particular reason why Brendan Walsh decided to put Verstappen back on a turf race, considering he really hadn't performed as well after he went on synthetic? Ran a 9, 8, and 8 his last 3 on synthetic. The last 4 on turf, 14, 13, 17, 21.
Well, he's also a 4-year-old that could be getting better, but I don't like him in this spot. He's never been the distance. Why do I want to play this one? But he's 20-1. I wouldn't bet shorty at 30-1 than Vespin at 20-1.
There's not a lot of polytrack or synthetic options, stake races. Turfway's closed. Presque Isle's not open yet. Woodbine's getting ready to open. This is the opportunity to try the turf again and see where they sit. If he runs a great race, great. If not, it wouldn't surprise me to see this horse make his way up to Woodbine for a stake race up there next time. But why not get? It's not the saltiest of fields where you're like, you're up against a bunch of monsters. You're a bunch of old dogs that love what they do and love to win races, but it's not the world's toughest race.
John, you're going to go 2-7. Who's your top pick?
Well, I make it exact the box 2-7.
Box 2-7.
I give a slight edge to the 2, but the 7 is 10-1. I'll bet the 7 all day long if he's 10-1 and the 2-7 to do.
And the 6 is your long shot.
Yes.
Chad, are you doing anything else other than the 7?
I like the Chad Brown horse highest honors. I've given him out on the show before when he was in Aqueduct. I would go. I would play the 7 with a 2-8. But like I said, I think this can go any way. But
7 with the 2-8.
Yeah, I do like House Street. I'm excited to watch this race. I've enjoyed watching this horse progress, and seeing where he goes. George Abreu deserves to have a big horse in his barn. He was in the Kentucky Oaks last year, and this horse can take him places maybe. So let's see how it goes.
And I'm going to do 3-7-10 exacta. 3-7-10. That's my pick. Let's move on to race number 9. Mile and 3/16. So how far, what's the difference between, what is that between? Mile and a half and a mile and a quarter?
No, try again.
Mile and a 16th and a mile and a quarter?
Okay, we can go a little bit further. It's a difference in a mile and eighth and a mile.
Okay. All right, anyway, the Ben Alley, grade 3.
Way, a big field, a big
100
field
meters.
of 7 you found
What's
here.
that?
For our international fans, it's 1,900 meters.
Okay.
And you found a 7-horse field to do for the show. Nice going,
Well,
Greg.
this is there's good horses in this one now.
They are.
This
They
is
are.
probably, well, let's start with Pioneer Medina, because Pioneer of Medina, this is a horse that Chad, remember you picked this one in February, ran a 7. And at that point, the horse had been on a run of 39, 23, 14, 11, 10, and then ran a 7 in that race. The sheet line was perfect. Unfortunately, the last race, not as good. Only bounced back to an 8, though. That's not too bad. So what about this Pioneer Medina with Pletcher and Gaffleon? Gaffleon back on board. What do you think about this horse?
Look,
I love this horse. This is my top pick.
Top pick.
Breaking from the rail, he has an advantage. The insides, you always want to be inside there. I like this horse. I think he's going to be tough.
Thankfully, Gaffleon didn't get injured in his spill yesterday. Just had a little bit of a cut lip. He's such a good young kid, and so happy for all the success that he's had.
That was
so
scary
far.
looking. Watching that was
really scary looking at. I'm very optimistic that he's going to win the Preakness here in a month or so. So I'll keep my fingers crossed here for Gaffleon. Look, I think he'll fit the horse well. Luis Saez is actually down in Oaklawn on Saturday riding Charge It. And here's a free pick for you. I think Charge It's going to gallop in the Oaklawn Handicap. I'll give that one out for free with Luis Saez on Saturday.
What was that? Wait, what was that?
Look,
By the way, Chad, with all due respect to you, and I love you, and you're a genius and everything else. That horse, off sheets, he looks good, but every horse out of his last race ran backwards out of that race.
Yeah, but he ran backwards in the last race, so now he can run forward. Look,
Okay.
at the end of the day, Charge It is the ultimate turn on, turn off horse, and he runs a hole in the wind every other race, so he's due for an every
Charge
other
It.
race.
Okay.
But
We're going to have a side wager, horse for
Okay.
horse.
Okay, we
So-
digress though. As far as Pioneer Medina is concerned, look, he's a horse who was supposed to bounce last time. I mean, right, John? That was to be expected.
By the way, the bounce wasn't even bad. He only bounced a point. He had every right to run a 14. The fact that he stayed close is very strong to me.
And to be honest with you, look, I think Luis Saez is riding probably as well as any jockey in the world right now. I think Luis Saez rode that horse to try and beat Art Collector, right? Art Collector had the target on his back. He did everything he could. It didn't work out. He came up a little bit short, but he wasn't going to get beat by Art Collector. I just think the strategy is a little bit different in this field, and I don't think the distance should be an issue for him as much as some of the other ones, including the favorite, who we'll talk about here in a second.
All right. And by the way, so Charge It, what race is that?
That's the Oaklawn Handicap on Saturday at Oaklawn.
And did you wanted to go head-to-head with him, John?
I don't like Charge It. I mean, I don't like that. I just don't like him.
So
he could win off of the numbers, but I don't like
So who
him.
did you want to go with?
I like the horse that absolutely loves that track, and that's Last Samurai. But in that race is an interesting 15-1 shot. The 5, Senor Buscadero. Did we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the horse we picked in the Lucas in the Outback last year, and then he came and ran against Cyberknife.
Run his odds, but I'm making a box in that race against Charge It. I was boxing 2, 4, and 5. Last Samurai, Proxy, and Senor Buscadero.
Charge It versus 2, 4, and 5.
No, it's not fair. I'm just going to go.
That's my stakes.
So Last Samurai versus Charge It.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. That's good. All right. Were you saying
the
something?
student teacher long ago.
Okay. All right. How about the long shot? Call Me Fast. I reference this horse because if you look, a very interesting sheet line. Let's do a line. Let's draw a line through the race in November because we can do that. The horse deserves a bad race. So if we draw a line with that race, then he had 8 straight sheet number tops until, all the way through to the 10 in February. So if you look at it, that's 29, 23, 19, 15, 13, 12, 12, and 10. Well, 12 and 12 the same, but 10. So you get what I'm trying to say here. Also had back-to-back wins. They were wire to wire. Last time out went backwards again, though. But we are talking about a 20-1 shot. So when you look at the line like that, John, I mean, is anything appealing to you regarding a long shot?
The line is nice. The problem is you're going to need an 8. And he's more likely to run a 12 than an 8. But he's 20-1, and we never knock 20-1 shots. The blinkers are coming off, so that's an equipment change, and he's losing Lasix, whatever that's worth. But that's the situation.
All right. Let's get to the favorite that Chad mentioned, and that is that's Skippy Longstocking, excuse me. Skippy Longstocking, who had that awesome win in his last race, because that was the race where he took the lead late, lost the lead, and then got the lead back. That's very hard to do. Gutsy win, ran an 8 in that race. But the problem is, if you take a look over his last 3 races in that situation, he's bounced from a 7 to a 10, from a 7 to a 13, and a 6 to a 12. Now he's running an 8. Is that something that you'd be concerned with, John?
Yeah, I don't like him. He's definitely going backwards, and he's also coming off of Lasix. The big race last time out was with Lasix, no Lasix Saturday. And I guess Chad is telling us that he doesn't want the distance. He ran a mile and 3/16 once before, and he ran horrible. Well, that was a Preakness. So
look, there's an old adage in racing: when somebody makes you an offer on a horse, take it.
Is that true?
This horse has been very popular, and there have been offers made on this horse, and the ownership have turned it down. And I have a feeling that a lot of times when that happens, it just doesn't work out. This is a big race for Skippy Longstocking. This is an important race. They feel the ownership and the trainers and everybody involved in the horse feels like he's as good as any older horse in the entire division. Okay, if he is. This is the stepping stone, the Ben Ali. They could have run in a much tougher race at Churchill next week, but they're going to run in the Ben Ali. They could have run in the Oaklawn race for more money in a much tougher race. They came here to Keeneland. He needs to win this race. If he's going to be taken seriously in this older male division, he needs to win this race. His 2 of his last 3, you throw out the Pegasus, right? Just throw out the Pegasus, fine. His race in the household before the Pegasus, his race at Tampa last time, awesome. Certainly puts him in the top, near the top of the division. Those are grade 3s. If this horse is as good as they think he is, then he needs to win this race. This isn't let's see what happens. He needs to win this race.
He's 7-5. You're making it.
He's supposed to win this race. I
don't think he's supposed to win this race.
But he's supposed to win this race.
Okay.
Well, it's 7-5.
What does that mean? He's
supposed to win at 7-5.
Is that what you're telling me?
What's that?
Are you telling me that he's 7-5, so he's supposed to win? I'm talking.
It's not about this situation and the placement of this horse. It's not about the odds. I know this is a handicapping show, and we try and give out winners and everything else.
Right.
This statement race, okay? This is a put up or shut up race.
Time.
There's a lot more on this race than the purse of the race or the 7-5 morning line.
I understand what you're saying, and you're right.
So the question is, this is the question you ask yourself.
So that he's going to be squeezed to the max is what you're telling me, Chad.
Yes. When you handicap this field, you say to yourself, do I believe in Skippy or do I not? That's the question. And I think people will be torn. I think there's going to be your camp, John. I think there's going to be others that are going to say he's going to gallop and he's a single in my tickets. Okay. I'm with you. I think he's not going to run the same race. But if ever there's a track he's supposed to run well at, it is Keeneland with the short stretch. He's supposed to make that dynamic move around the turn, open up by 3, and not look back. But I don't know that he's going to do it.
What about Rattle and Roll, the 3-1 shot? Rattle and Roll does not actually, if you take a look at the last couple of starts here at Keeneland, they actually haven't been his better races. He ran a 13 in November at Keeneland in that Grade 2 race. That was actually his worst race since July. He had 3/8 in between that 13 at Keeneland. He's 3-1, so he's pretty much one of the top 2 horses in the field. John, what about Rattle and Roll?
He has a shot. I like him better than Skippy Longstocking, if that's worth anything. But again, I don't know. I just think all these horses are basically the same. Even the 6 horse, the next horse, Happy American, he fits with these horses. But that's why I gave the edge to the rail horse, because I think on the inside with Tyler Gaffleone, he's going to save all the ground. I just think he's the right horse. He doesn't have to run an 8. The other horses have to run 8 or better. If the one runs a 10, he'll beat them.
Well, the interesting thing about the difference between Happy American and Rattle and Roll is that Rattle and Roll in his last 4 races has 8-8, 13-8. Happy American has 9-9, 16-9. So he's basically one off three of those races, and you're getting 12-1 instead of 3-1.
Exactly. That's the point I was making. He's a point away, but the odds-wise, he's 4 times the price.
What about those 2 horses, Chad? 5 and a 6?
For me, Rattle and Roll is a horse who showed a lot of promise. He was on the Derby Trail last year and everything, and I'm just waiting for him to kind of. I want to see life from him. He hasn't shown that race yet. That
he never came back to those good races. Early, and he ran them close. I remember playing this horse.
Just the eyeball test hasn't been as impressive, in his last few races as it was going up back last year. Happy American, cool horse. You ask yourself, is he a horse for course? He ran very well at fairgrounds. Ran very, very well at fairgrounds.
True.
Neil Passon does a great job, but I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't see it, and then the other horse you got to talk about a little bit. I don't know. Trademark was so disappointing last time. I thought he had a chance to really take a step forward this year. He was beaten easily in hand last time out by Skippy Longstocking. Just kind of stopped. Maybe he needed the race. I think he can move forward. He's won a Keeneland before, which is always an advantage horses for courses. If you're going to take a shot on a big price, maybe you look at Trademark one more time to see if he can bounce back from the disappointing effort at Tampa last time. But like I said, it's Skippy's race to lose, but I'm with John that I'm going to make my top pick Pioneer Medina.
Back to Pioneer Medina. I like it.
I like it too.
All right, so you're just going to go straight bet with the 1?
That's it. Straight up.
Then I'll put an exact in there to try to make some money. I'll do 1-3-7. And hope that the Skippy Longstocking.
Brad Cox, 20 Port, the old Derby horse.
20 Port. Yep.
Run the horse on the turf, please. He's a turf horse. Run the horse on the turf. I've been begging them for a year. Run this horse on the turf. He's a turf horse. I know he ran 6th in the Derby. I know he won the Lexington last year. I think he's a turf horse.
Okay. Next week we have a live show.
Woo-hoo.
And again, we don't know what time yet, so that's why you have to subscribe. And when you subscribe, you will know exactly when I post the live show date and time. Next week, the races are a week before the Derby, so they're slim pickings. The best races are at Santa Anita. There's 2 graded stakes races, the Providencia and the Santa Maria.
The Providencia.
So it's possible we are doing 2 races.
Was that Ships of Columbus?
What's that?
Was that one of the Ships of Columbus?
Oh, I
Anita Santa Maria, or whatever.
All right, guys. Appreciate it as always. John, Chad, we'll talk to you next week live.
Send your comments.
Yeah,
Send your
keep
comments.
coming. Or just remember, when we're live, you can chat with us live.
Uh-oh.
All right, guys. Stay safe and be well. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.